Yeah, I know.
How are you feeling after your high rocks?
Shattered. Good though. No, it's good. It's my first solos I've done. So I've done doubles about a month ago, and then done solos. But yeah, different ball game solos. So
Yeah, was it the sled? I seen you put on your Instagram. Was it the
it's
sled
led.
what got you?
Yeah, it's led done me. Humbled. Not the man I thought I was.
No, well, I think when you do, I remember like when I did CrossFit comps a couple of years ago, like you train and you do things and then you sort of think, oh yeah, I'm ready for this. And then you see something and then you get absolutely melted in about 5. So I've wanted to get you on for a while actually. When I seen your page and that, just what you do is ace. I think it's a really interesting sort of niche that you've got, and um, yeah, we'll get into it whenever you're ready, and if you're good, we'll go. I'll just segue in with essentially like that. So obviously, tradesman coach, big page, Instagram, seen like just doing a bit of research into and that hundreds and hundreds of people you've helped. And what I like to do is before we even get into that is give us a bit about yourself, who you are, and sort of what got you to where you are today.
Yeah, cool. So I'm Joe, as you know me from Tradesman's coach. But yeah, essentially, I've always been in and amongst like the trade, construction from, well, before I left school, actually, like doing school holidays, half terms, working with family friends and stuff. Our family friend was an electrician, so always been in and amongst it. Never wanted to kind of go to uni. So from the day I left school, I literally started the following day as an electrician. 4 years later, I was qualified, and yeah, it just kind of led from there. Really, always been a sporty person, always been like into fitness and stuff, and then the two, I guess, go hand in hand from being into the sports, into fitness, into health, into looking good, feeling good, and then obviously tying it in and amongst the trade and construction as well.
Yeah, so like you mentioned though, you did the trade, things like that, and now you sort of stepped away from that and just going into the coaching. Was there sort of a personal journey from you, like any personal maybe challenges or struggles that sort of made you realise that, oh well, you need to prioritise your fitness whilst being in trade? And I've seen you mention on your Instagram about the sort of reoccurring bad habits and these routines that tradesmen easily fall into. Is that something you experienced yourself?
Yeah, I think you do. When you're obviously working in amongst it, you see it a hell of a lot more. Like it's quite eye opening, really. Like seeing the bad habits and stuff that people go by, and it's easy to get caught in it when you're there and you're working with older blokes and you're working with guys doing it and you're getting peer pressured into eating stuff that you don't want to eat. And it's not like they're cramming it down your neck, but you say, "Listen, I don't want a fucking burger. I'm trying to be healthy," and everyone laughs, everyone takes the piss. Yeah, it is difficult, and I think one thing led to another, and it's like it's a massive opportunity to help people. And one thing that I say on my page is I can help and serve more people being a tradesman's coach than I can being an electrician, because there's so many people out there need help and they don't know kind of where to get started, which I guess is sort of where we come in and where I come in.
Yeah, nice, mate. And you mentioned there something that I do want to pick into a little bit more, if you don't mind. It, that culture of tradesmen. It's like it's quite a strong, masculine, almost old school culture. Do this, do that. This is just what's always been done. How is that to navigate in your position to sort of maybe get these like fellas in, which I imagine it mainly is, and sort of like, look, you're going to have to go against the grain a little bit here. Is that a challenge you find?
Yeah, it can be a challenge. It's a challenge to change people's habits and mindset. If they've lived their whole life in this mindset of eating crap, drinking crap, going to the pub on a Friday, and do you know what I mean? None of them have barely ever known healthy or what healthy is, and they might pick out all day and they might go home and the missus might cook something partially healthy, so to speak. It can be a challenge to change people's habits, which is another thing that I say to people is that we don't work with anyone and everyone. Like we have quite a hard qualification process in that we get people on a call, we find out a little bit more about themselves, we find out about obviously what they want to achieve and whether or not they'll be a good fit. Because one thing I say to people is, although we want to help everyone, some people aren't a good fit, and obviously our goal is to help you. So we will be kind of telling you what you need to hear, I guess, rather than what you want to hear. And obviously, not everybody wants that, but ultimately, that's what's required to get results.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because my experience of in the past of coaching and doing different things is some people really like the idea of change, don't they? But the actual practicality of it and the application of it just doesn't suit everybody. And that's what I was obviously so interested about you, because knowing my mates who are like on the trade and that, they're quite stubborn and they just sort of are like, oh, well, you know, I'm doing this very manual job, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, so I can sort of eat shit and do what I want, and I've earned this and earned that. For you, obviously, you've mentioned there that you was sporty, you've always been interested in health and fitness, but was there a eureka moment or an epiphany when you was on the trade to be like, I've got to fucking make a change here, or, you know, I'm going to step away from this and see if I can make a change for everybody else?
Yeah, I sort of fell into it, I guess, really, sort of by starting my own journey. Like I say, being caught in bad habits of, I remember sort of breakfast, go to work, break time, be whatever I was having, through sausage roll, pastry, pork pie, get to lunchtime. I might take my pasta and then they're going down the shops. Fuck it, I'll come with you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get this, I'll get that. And I remember going away on holiday and getting back and seeing my photos. And like, for a lot of people to look at it, might think, well, you weren't that out of shape. But like, for me, everyone's obviously different. And I remember looking at it and thinking, nah, I can't keep eating sausage rolls at break time. I can't keep eating pork pies and stuff. And I went on my own journey, and like I said, I kind of fell into it, sort of started helping friends and family. And before you know it, I thought, you know what, I'm pretty good at this. Joined, which we may go into, joined like a business program, because I was like, if I'm gonna make a go of this, I've no idea where to get started. So, do you know what I mean? I need a coach. I need to get help. I need to kind of be directed how to do it. And then 3 months later, literally had not too many clients, but had enough clients to kind of couldn't juggle the two. And then that was where I had that moment where I was like, listen, I'm either going to have to go all in on this, or I'm going to have to give it up and continue being an electrician. And here we are, a year and a half later, still doing it.
Smashing it, man. And I mean, literally smashing it from what you see. But I want to sort of pick into the transition and just speaking to you, obviously, with this first time I've ever spoken, but seeing you on Instagram and that, you can just tell I'm not blowing smoke at your ass either, that you're probably a super driven person. Do you know what I mean? I think once, like I said, you got it in your head, you was doing that. And how was it to sort of navigate that change of being like, people sort of may have seen you as that electrician because you started it from, like I said, the day after you left school. And I feel like sometimes with trades, it sort of becomes people's identity and like, oh, well, you know, I'm a lecky, I'm a bricky, I'm this, I'm that. How, did you get any sort of backlash from people around you, people you work with, to be like, I'm stopping this now and I'm doing this instead?
Yeah, like I said, the trade is can be quite toxic in terms of people taking a piss. And you should be doing it. And I remember not before I handed him a notice, sort of even recording videos and stuff. People on site, hey, an idiot. I'm assuming I can't swear, can I? Or,
Yeah, you say what you want, mate, don't worry.
yeah, you fucking idiot. What are you fucking recording yourself for? Are you fucking gay? And yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
Like, people, do you know what I mean? People just say stuff like that. People, especially in the building trade, can be quite toxic. And then I remember playing football. I used to play football as well, turning up on a Saturday, people taking a mick, people calling your names. And it's quite funny because they're the same people who 6 months later, they're then asking you for help. And they're like, oh, can you help me get into shape and stuff like that. But yeah, I had quite a bit of backlash. I remember parents and stuff like that. You got a stable job. You know what I mean? There ain't no money in personal training, XYZ. And I remember telling my boss, what, questioning me, you can earn money in that. Like, you're an electrician. What do you mean you're going to do that? And I actually handed in my notice to go part time, because I remember my parents saying, well, go part time first. You know what I mean? Play it safe, go part time. And I gave in my notice. It was 4 week notice. And after 2 weeks, I was like, nah, fuck it. Like, I can't do it. I was going to go. I remember saying, listen, I'm going to go to my boss. I'm going down to 2 weeks on the tools, 2 days on the tools, 3 days doing my own stuff. And I remember him saying, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can let you do 2 days on the tools. Like, I need you more than that. And I said to him, well, all due respect, his name is Gary. All due respect, Gary. Like, if I can't do 2 days, I'm off. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, I went to him and I was like, you know, I said I was going to do 2 days. You can have the van back, like, in 2 weeks' time. I'm gone. See you later. And it's like, will you still help us out on a Saturday when you can still come in and help us? Yeah, maybe we'll see. Never did go back in, but yeah, never looked back really. But yeah, it was a transition which, like I say, even people on site, close friends, close family, why are you doing that for? Why are you doing this for? And to be honest, best thing I've ever done. Like I say, we can help so many more people now than I can. Do you know what I mean? There's so many electricians out there and stuff like that. I'm sure people get by and still get a house wired.
Yeah. But like what the work you're doing, you put a post on last night, didn't you, about like what it means to you? And I think it's so important. What I see is when I speak to people on the podcast, and a lot of them are people who just ended up chasing what they're passionate about. And I think once you have a passion for something, it doesn't really feel like work, I imagine. I feel like there's obviously challenges and days where it feels shit, but that's just life, innit? And like I said, that feeling of helping someone in a way that is life changing. Even if you do it to one person, what is that feeling like? You know, when someone says, "Fucking, you've
Mad.
Instrumental."
Yeah, same as when I was on the tools. Like, there's nothing better than getting complimented. You know what I mean? People saying, "Joe, your work's class." Like, thank you very much. Like, such a good feeling of knowing that you're actually helping someone. But like I say, knowing that I can actually literally change somebody's life now. And when we first done our first ever photo shoot, people saying, "Listen, dude, like, you've literally changed my life. Like, I'm not going back. I'm literally so different now. I'm so much happier. I've lost so much weight. Life changing amount of weight." And for some people, do you know what I mean? They might just want to get into shape, but for some reason, for some people, it literally is changing their life. Do you know what I mean? It's losing a substantial amount of weight that they might have had health problems. They might have had health implications. Like I say, it literally can change someone's life. You can save somebody's life. So it is the most fulfilling job in the world, I'd say.
That's brilliant, mate. And I want to touch on something you mentioned there, because the photo shoots are, you know, the transformations and things like that are insane. They're so good, the ones that you put on. But I want to touch back on something, so it's a bit of a double-headed question. That you mentioned there about like it being toxic on site and things like that. And how much do you think that contributes to the unhealthy patterns and like the bad habits? How big of a factor do you think that toxicness is, and that sort of old school routine that they have?
Massive, absolutely massive. The amount of people I see who they might say they want to get fit and healthy, and then they'll say, "I'm eating healthy," and then, do you know what I mean? They get peer pressured into having a burger or fish and chips on a Friday. Like, I've literally been a person. It can be super toxic. And unfortunately, like I say to the lads who come on and kind of work with us on our program, it's usually the guys who are taking the mick, taking the piss, calling them names. Like, you look at him, John, he's 13 stone overweight himself. He lives at home. He smokes 50 fags a day. Like, you're listening. It's weird because you're listening to the guys who are in the complete opposite position to where you don't want to end up. But it's those guys who almost, do you know what I mean? They're so deep, they're so ingrained in them habits. They think it's the lifestyle that they then take the mick out of probably the younger generation of people who want to be fit and healthy. And, you know what I mean? It's easy to get led and peer pressured and sort of pressured into things.
It becomes cyclical then, doesn't it? Like you said, the older generation filtering into the younger one. Sort of following on from that, where I wanted to go with it is these photo shoots, you know, as you mentioned before, some of the things that you got called just by filming it. Do people come in sort of nervous about the idea of a photo shoot, and how do you sort of, you know, combat that with them being like, all right, don't worry about John, who's going to take the piss out of you, but John's only maybe jealous because you finally done what John's always wanted to do. I can imagine that people are shitting themselves when they're like, "Oh, I've got to take my top off and have a photo shoot."
Yeah, it's funny. I've got a clip on my phone. I've got a clip on my phone of six fully grown men stood behind each other like the human centipede, rubbing baby oil over each other, fully tanned. And I'm
Shouldn't have took a drink then. Fuck that.
recording it and putting it on my Instagram story and being like, things you don't fucking see every day. But it's bringing people together. Do you know what I mean? People are doing stuff. I mean, they don't have to wear fake tan and bloody oil. Not everyone wants to do it, but we kind of include it as, you know what I mean, part of the fun. That's what a photo shoot is. But like we say to them as well, do you know what I mean? You don't have to be shredded 6-pack, 8-pack, absolutely shredded to the bone. Like, it's just celebrating your success. Somebody who might not be ripped to the bone, but they might have lost 15, 20 kilos. Like, it's life-changing. It's a massive achievement that you can just get together and celebrate, and it's an opportunity for everybody to obviously get together and celebrate the success together. But we just frame it as, do you know what I mean, it's an experience. I've done one myself, and it literally, I would say, is one of the best things I've ever done, just to actually stand there in front of a camera or get your photos back and look at it and think, shit, man, like, I achieved that. Looking back at photos, putting two photos side by side and thinking, holy shit, all those days that I trained when I didn't want to train, I followed my diet when the lads took the piss out of me, and now look at me, like unstoppable mindset. And I've had so many people, do you know what I mean, go on and start companies and leave the jobs, and all because of the mindset shift that they've achieved from just literally physically getting into shape.
And it's massive, isn't it? And the photo shoot you mentioned, I had a coach on who did a photo shoot himself, and we were chatting about this the other day, actually, funnily enough. And he said it's the best accountability tool he's ever had in his life, because like every second step you have, or every sort of thing you go, oh, should I eat that? Should I do this? You're sort of thinking, oh, well, I've got this photo shoot in 4 weeks. I'm going to stick to my plan. Do you find that with other people and maybe yourself when you did it, that it's just this sort of sword of Damocles hanging over you and you're like, right, I've got to hold myself to it?
Yeah, because as well, you've got to think that you're going to be stood in front of that camera, and if you've gone off plan and had a five guys just because, do you know what I mean, you crumbled and you couldn't keep your hand, or you've smashed a tub of biscuits because you couldn't keep your hands on the biscuits in, like you're going to be stood there in 4 weeks' time thinking, bloody hell, what if I didn't eat them biscuits? What if I didn't do that? So it's more up here. Like I say, people physically get into shape, but it's more the mindset shift people actually achieve and the discipline and consistency to get to a Saturday night and think, well, okay, I'm not having a takeaway. I've got a photo shoot in 4 weeks' time. Like it's the discipline that people actually achieve. And then, like I say, seeing that portrayed as they then come out of the photo shoot, and they don't have to be so strict. They've got so much more control and over their own decisions and kind of actions.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you what sort of a win looks like for you. You know, when you've got these people and you're coaching them, but obviously the photo shoot is it's sort of the example, isn't it, of all the hard work and things like that. But you've just mentioned there about them having the ability to make their own decisions and change the habits and routines. And is that the bigger win for you? Like seeing people have that mindset shift?
Yeah, I think the mindset shift and seeing the actual development of people, which is difficult to show on social media, because how do you show someone's mindset shift on social media? Do you know what I mean? You've got to put up a picture, so it's kind of a catch-22. We're in a situation where, listen, to show that Jax had done well on the program, I've got to put two photos side by side.
Yeah.
They might not even have to lose weight to actually change their life and their mindset. So it's difficult. So we tried to get a lot of lads doing like video testimonials and speaking in front of camera, because again, it's not just about a physical transformation. But unfortunately, we're kind of in that industry where you've got to show that physical product, so to speak, to show he's actually achieved it. Because how can you show that somebody's got more confidence? You know what I mean? It's difficult to show and prove.
Yeah, and like it is sort of, it's like you said, it's a catch-22 in it, because obviously they've put in this hard work, and naturally, I think with sort of the catchment of which the niche that you're working in, a lot of these people are gonna change physically, aren't they? But just to hear sort of the mindset shifts that you talk about in that, I think it's one of them. With just the industry itself, it's transformations are sort of the main thing, aren't they? And what sell. Yeah, I think for me, it's so impressive that it's just a group that I imagine is really stubborn, and like you've mentioned, they can be, and it's quite toxic and stuff. And just for you to sort of put yourself into that world, from being from that world and understanding it, it is and I imagine it's an uphill battle. But what's it like when you build? Is there like a community aspect now with you and your clients? And do you think that's sort of the first domino of making these changes for tradesmen?
We do have a community. To be honest, a lot of the lads, do you know what I mean? They're so busy at work that some just want to join the program and get results, and do you know what I mean, change their life. They're not community aspect of it. But some people love the community aspect, meeting up. Like I enjoy that side of things, because I think if you can go through a journey together with other people, and then you're all stood there on that final day, do you know what I mean, together, and you've all been through the same kind of thing, it's really, really good. But yeah, like I say, some people are just in it for the journey, which again is sort of fair enough as well.
Yeah, and sort of when you look back and think, you know, sort of the first person you got, like, and now to where you are, what are the common issues that people are having? Do you know what I mean? What's like the top three that crop up, that, or they're all sort of doing these bad habits or these negative routines? Is there any that springs to mind that is the most common you see?
Yeah, I would say biggest struggles when people join: time, energy, and then either motivation or like lack of knowledge towards the diet. Like 90% of them haven't got the time, unless you're employed. Even when you're employed, like I've been through employed life, you still don't finish at 5 p.m. every single day. You still might be asked to work overtime. So time is literally the biggest struggle, being able to get into the gym at XYZ. But most of them, again, it's just flipping that mindset, because most of them are stood in Greg's 20 minutes every morning, queuing anyway. Do you know what I mean? That time would be meals and stuff like that as well. Energy, again, mainly comes from bad habits, lack of sleep, lack of stress management and stuff like that. It all negatively affects energy. So that can sort of soon be sorted with the right structure and routine. And then motivation comes from that as well. If somebody hasn't got energy, they're going to wake up, they're not motivated, they don't want to go to work because they can't be bothered because they haven't got energy. Or again, knowledge. Do you know what I mean? Most of them don't have the knowledge, which leads them to bad eating habits, XYZ, because they haven't got the knowledge. They don't know what to do in the gym. They don't know what to do training. But something I want to mention there is what you said a minute ago in terms of some people, it's that constant uphill battle. And you can't, going back to what we spoke about earlier, you literally can't help everyone. We've had lads in the past, they might join the program and they think just because they've joined the program, they're going to see results. And unfortunately, you do get them people from time to time, and they can't be helped. You know what I mean? You can give people the best plan, the best program in the world, but some people are so ingrained in their bad habits. You try and help them. What can I do to help? Listen, you're not sticking to it. What is it you can't stick to? I'll change it. I'll make it work for you. And unfortunately, some people can't be helped. But again, that's the industry that you live in. Same as when you go to a customer's house, they can have, I guess, any electrician go in, but it might never be right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like there's such a... I think it goes back to what you said there about education. And people put the bodies through years and years of these negative environments, habits, routines, and then they expect it to be fixed in 6 weeks. And it's not the case, is it?
No, literally, we have been through it all. We've done 6-week programs, 8-week programs, 12-week programs, and now we generally do like 6-month minimum with people, because what I generally say to them, yes, I can give you, so I mean, I can give you an 8-week program, I can get you into shape, Jack, in 8 weeks, but realistically, mate, you're just going to leave the program and fall back into your bad habits. Like, you can't change somebody's mindset and their life in 8 weeks. So we kind of, our program's actually called Built for Life. So what I say to people is, listen, we want to work with you for long enough. Yes, we want to see results. That's what you're coming here for. You want to look good. You want to feel good. But ultimately, if you're just going to fall back into bad habits, like, it's fucking important starting in the first place. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like going to a customer and say, listen, I'm going to build you a brick wall, but in a year's time, it's going to fall back down. I'm going to have to come back and build it again. They'll be like, don't build it in the first place. What are you doing? I'll get someone who can build it properly and it's going to stay up. And that's what I say to people, like, yes, you know what I mean? I can get you quick results in 12 weeks, but if you're just going to fall back into bad habits, put the weight back on, what's the point? Like, you may as well save your time and money, and we may as well not start in the first place. So, yeah, that's a big one that I say to people, like, yes, we want results, but it's all about, you know what I mean, using the right cement so the results stick.
Yeah. I love that analogy, because it's refreshing to hear you say that, because you just see across the industry, especially in fitness and coaching, that people want to get people in for 6-8 weeks, get the transformation pick, and then just leave them stranded. And to hear you say that, oh, well, we do it, for these longer periods, that's brilliant. Because do you ever see people who you get on who have had these sort of 6-8 week transformation phase things, and they're like, oh, I just wish I could get back to that? But in reality, a lot of them programs aren't sustainable, are they? They're just sort of, we want you to look like this by the end, and then bye, come back again in 6 months.
Yeah, we get so many people, mate, who've tried other plans and other programs and come to us and they're like, yeah, do you know what I mean? I got into shape before. It's like, well, or it might be like, well, you cost a little bit more than what my other coach did. And it's like, yeah, but you're now looking to buy another program, dude. So, like, wouldn't you spend a bit more and buy, like, a decent program in the first place rather than keep trying? I mean, I always use the analogy of Weight Watchers, the best business model in the world, because it's like, it's the best, it's the diet that people just keep trying and trying and trying. It's again, to the wall analogy. If you've got to build the wall every single week, the point of fucking building it in the first place, build something that's actually gonna like last. And on that as well, I speak to a lot of people on Instagram Messenger and stuff like that, get a lot of questions. So many people, I've tried intermittent fasting, I couldn't stick to it. I've tried keto, couldn't stick to it. I've tried carnivore, and it's like, well, yeah, dude, like, you can't stick to it because you need carbs, you need energy. Like, you can't starve yourself on site. Like, you've actually got to do your job. So yes, you might have lost weight, but could you stick to it? Not for more than 2 weeks. So again, what's the point? Eat the foods you like, eat foods that gives you fuel, and actually enjoy it in the process.
Yeah, and I think what you said there about like the wall and things like that, and Weight Watchers, and it just always comes back to education, it seems, doesn't it? And we've got so many of these, so much information, and I think it's where people like yourself come in and just, sieve it to suit the niche of the population that are looking for it, to be like, this is what you need. Don't worry too much about that. It's energy balance. You've got this super manual job where you're working all the time. When you, obviously Weight Watchers being that example and things like that, how, when you was on site and you seen it, how many just were like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and just expect this change? Was that like a prevalent thing? Because when the coaching I did, it was sort of more general population, and everyone understands the Weight Watchers structure. Nothing about like anything else, just like this, that, blah, blah, blah.
The common one you see is like people starving themselves or people eating salads, like just salads. They're like, yeah, I'm on a diet. I'm just going to eat salad for every single meal. And it's like, fucking dude, like, how long can you eat salad for the rest of your life? I say it in my content a lot. So many people like giving up bread. It blows me. It makes me fat. Like, I'm not eating bread no more. It's like, mate, it's not the bread that's making you fat. It might be because you're eating the whole loaf. Like, don't eat a whole loaf.
Yeah.
So my old boss used to say, "Yeah, I've given up the bread. It's bloated me. It makes me fat." It's not the bread making you fat.
Yeah.
Like, eat the bread. If you like bread, eat bread. Like,
yeah.
Making you fat, just maybe don't eat so much of it. Or don't have that when you go to the shops. Buy a normal packet of crisps rather than a super.
Yeah, or the 3 litres of Coke that you're not tracking because you don't think liquids have calories and shit like that.
I remember being in a van with someone I worked with and going to the shops, and he went in and he come out, and it wasn't just a banana and a sandwich. It was like a sandwich, a big bag of crisps. It was like a couple of packs of biscuits, a whole bunch of bananas, and it's like, and it was like a multi-pack of crisps. It's like 6 packs of crisps in one.
Yeah.
Like, who needs that? Like, just come
marathon fuel.
Yeah, it's mad, and it's like chocolate bars instead of just one chocolate bar. It's like buy the pack of 4.
It's value for money, isn't it? It's value for money. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mad how people just justify things in it by being like, oh well, I could get 1, or I could just get 4 and pay like 50p extra. But then people just don't have that sort of that logic to be like, oh well, I'll just save them. Just like, oh, sounds. We've all done it, haven't we? And it's easy to be sort of like, oh, I'll just have it and move on. People, when you don't have that education, for me, it always comes back to like, you don't get taught this sort of stuff in school. There's no sort of, photosynthesis is all sound and that, but when you don't actually know if it fuel your own body, it becomes a big issue with later on in life.
Yeah, I speak to so many people as well, and they might spend £5-10 a day on buying meal deals, stopping at Costa, stopping at McDonald's on the way home, and some of them are spending like 20 quid a day. And then it might come to your coaching, and you're like, well, my coaching works out less than what you're spending on food. And it's like, yeah, I can't afford it. It's like, what about those 5 Red Bulls you just told me that you're buying a day? That I once spoke to a guy, and he reckoned he was buying 5 Red Bulls a day and smashing 5 Red Bulls a day, having a McDonald's. And then he's like, I can't afford it. I'm like, mate, like this coaching a day works out less than the amount of Red Bulls that you buy. You're spending like 10-15 quid a day on Red Bulls. It's like, yeah, I can't do it. It's like, well, mate, you're probably not going to be a good fit anyway, because if you'd rather, do you know what I mean? If you see more value in the Red Bulls than you do in actually changing your life, what you've just spent half an hour telling me you want to change your life, like you probably don't want to change your life.
Yeah. And how was that, because I'm assuming with, again, going back to like the tradesmen and that, when you get them on and you have these calls and chats with them, I'm assuming there's as many hits as there is misses. Like, I imagine a lot of them come on and they don't expect or understand the commitment that they're going to have to give to change themselves. And what was that like initially when you started to be like, oh, I've started my business, I've sort of cut the ties with the trade, I've gone full deep end, and, you think you might have to turn somebody down. What was that like mentally to be like, I've got to stick to my guns here and be like, you're not fit for this?
Yeah, it was difficult. I remember when I first started, at first, it's like, take on anyone and everyone, just, do you know what I mean? Get them into the program, try and help them. But then the more bad fits you take on, the more frustrating it becomes, because you're like, I've taken you on when I knew I shouldn't have taken you on, and now you're not sticking to the plan, and now I'm getting annoyed, and yeah, everything's gone to shit. So yeah, it is difficult, but sometimes you literally, like, I've had calls with people in the past, and I've literally said to them, like, I'm sorry, mate, but I don't think this is right for you. Like, I've just asked you why you want to do it, why you want to lose the weight, and you say, I don't know, I feel I'm not really sure why I want to do it. So if you don't know why, mate, like, I don't know why. Like,
yeah,
what happens when the plan gets difficult? What you're going to rely on to make sure you stick to it? I don't know, because I don't know why I want to do it. Well, Like, do you know what I mean? I don't think you want to do it then. Maybe come back in a month's time when you feel like it's the right time for you. So it can be hard, but yeah, ultimately, do you know what I mean? Someone's got to. I always say to people, I can't want it more than you. If you're coming onto it, I can give you the best plan in the world, but if you don't want to actually achieve it, I can't make you stick to it. Do you know what I mean? You've got to actually want to achieve it yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And that is one thing, again, going back to like with what I said before, is people don't understand that they might have been doing something for 5 years. It's not going to change in 5 weeks. And no matter how good a coach you got or someone who's as passionate, that person needs to have that intrinsic motivation to sort of go for that. So like looking at, you said like it's a year and a half, you said you've been like doing it now?
Last March full time, so it'll be 2
Yeah,
years.
yeah. So like if you look back at that journey, is there anything that, you wish you'd have done sooner or implemented sooner or anything like that?
No, I think everything's a learning curve. I think you can look back and say, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. But I guess everything in like the long term, do you know what I mean? Like, big believer that everything happens for a reason, everything pushes you in the right direction and stuff. Like, I've taken on shit people, I've taken on good people, I've charged more, I've charged less, I've tried every different program that there is, and I've sort of learned every step of the way. Listen, I've done this, but it didn't work. Like, let's try this now. And I'm a big believer as well. Like, I tell my customers, to get to where you want to be, you've got to invest in yourself. Like, you've proved that you can't do it by yourself. You need a coach. And I'm the same. I have a coach because I don't know everything. Even again, accountability, having the accountability. I have business mentors because I don't know everything about business. Do you know what I mean? I want to learn. So that's why I feel like I can preach to clients. Listen, to get to where you want to be, you have to spend money, you have to invest in yourself. But it's an investment because you're getting it back in the results that you achieve and the knowledge that you learn as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes back to when you were saying that person who's like, oh, well, I'd rather put my money into 5 Red Bulls a day. That's not an investment, is it? That's just essentially literally pissing it up wall and then coming back. Yeah. And then that money, you don't lose, do you? With that money you invest, you will see a return on it eventually down the line.
Yeah, some people don't see it, and some people are invested in the diabetes that the Red Bulls are going to give them. You know?
Yeah. The short-term fix in it, it's like the instant dopamine and things like that.
Yeah, it's mad as well though, because I've spoken to people in the past as well, and they're like, I've been to the doctors. They've told me I've got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and the geezer's like 27, 28 years old, and it's like, well, let's do something about it. No, I don't think I'm ready. Like, you know what I mean? I think I want to think. I don't know if I'm ready to follow a plan, follow a program. It's like, when are you ready then? Do you know what I mean? When are you going to be ready?
A lot of the time, it's when something irreversible happens. Unfortunately, like you see it a lot in gyms. Never mind, just general population where people are like, oh well, they've said, I need to get my cholesterol down in 4 months, so I'm going to have a fucking cardiac arrest or an heart attack. And it takes people sometimes then massive ultimatums or something like, as horrible as it sounds, a heart attack or something like that to actually make change. The fact that people are like, like you said, they're 28, sort of on that verge and just like, oh, I don't know. That must be so sort of not infuriating for you, but yeah, like it just must be like, why fucking you want to shake people?
It's frustrating because you know how much you help people, and that's what I try and get across. Like, I know that I can literally change your life. Like, if you come on board and stick to this plan and program, not being big headed, but I know this program will help you, dude. Like, just listen to me, trust me, please. Like, but like again, it comes down to that thing: you can't help anyone and everyone. Someone's got to want it more. They've got to want it more than you. You want it for them, but yeah.
Is it hard to not get emotionally invested with your clients and things like that, and the people that you meet who need you essentially?
Yeah, I think with our clients we are emotionally invested. Like, we're so one-to-one, we're so personable with them, which I think is why we get the results we do and why it's so fulfilling at the end, because we're literally on the journey with them. We go through the highs, we go through the lows. Like, I've had people before say to me, mate, you were so much more than a coach. Like, you were a friend to me. Like, when I had that shit going on with missus, like, you stood by me, you gave me that plan. Like, we literally just spoke. And I think to get good results, you have to be emotionally invested. Like, if you don't give a shit about your clients, then you're not going to probably get the results that someone who does really care about people. Like, you've really got to want to help people, and that's kind of why we do it. Some people, I guess, are in it for the money, but do you know what I mean? We just want to help people, and that's why I guess helping tradesmen is that there's such a pool of people out there we can help, and we know how to help because we've been there and done it.
Yeah, class, man. You're just there speaking about it, like how much it means to you and sort of the journey you've been on yourself with it. And I think that, like I said, some people are just in it for for money and financial gain, but they won't last. It's like anything, isn't it? It's just fads and things like that, and you put the right foundation in. It goes back to anything like the habits, the routine, what you're trying to come across. If the foundations are solid, everything can be built upon that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, if there was one thing that, obviously I'm not trying to like get you top secret here or anything, but if there's like over the years experience you've had and sort of working, if there's one piece of advice you could give to a tradesman, like what would it be, do you reckon?
One piece of what in
Like to better the life, like, mate, just to give them sort of, if there was one piece of advice that could be the catalyst to start a change, what do you think it'd be?
that I think it's making most people realize that they're the most important person. Like they've got to prioritize themselves. And I think that's probably the bit of advice I'd say is prioritize yourself. And again, what I try and put across in my content is if you don't prioritize yourself, Dean, like you have a heart attack, you ain't got a business. So you can keep working all the hours you want in the world. But if you have a heart attack, mate, your business ain't there because you're not running it. Your kids ain't got a dad. Your missus hasn't got a husband anymore. Like you say to a lot of people, listen, why are you doing it? I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for this. And it's like, yeah, you're doing it for your kids, but you're also doing it for you because if there is no you, do you know what I mean? There's no business owner, there's no dad, no husband. So I think making people realize that they are the most important person and they've got to prioritize themselves and they've got to take care of themselves. Otherwise, again, everyone else and everything else doesn't really matter if they're not here. Do you know what I mean? If they don't prioritize themselves.
100%. The like, it's that thing in it of main character syndrome. Sometimes it's seen as a bad thing, but sometimes you've got to just knuckle down on it and put yourself first, and then everything will naturally progress from that point. So going on about someone like looking intrinsically and focus on themselves, something that I always ask the guests are, if there's 3 habits that you do that you could recommend to a tradesman or an everyday person to sort of better their life, what would they be and why?
3 habits. One, I would say don't neglect sleep. I've done it for so many years. It's like trying to grow, obviously, the business alongside working on the tools. Where can I get time? Well, I'll get it from pulling sleep. I won't sleep. I'll sleep for 3 hours rather than 8 hours. You know what I mean? I'll get up earlier. And I think that's the biggest area where people go wrong because they'll sleep less, hunger hormones are in the air, they eat more, they put on weight, they're more stressed, they store more body fat. So I'd say prioritize sleep would be hack number 1. Hack number 2 would be move more. Like even if it's not just to lose body fat, lose weight, like for the head, it's so good. You need to be moving more. And then number 3, I would say 80-20 rule of nutrition, or just eat healthier. Like people might think, do you know what I mean? I don't want to eat healthier. I don't want to do this. I don't want to eat that. But again, how much more energized you can feel, how much more positive you can feel just by like the food you're eating and actually not stuffing your face full of sausage rolls and stuff like that. So I would say move more, nutrition and sleep are like massively important. Sleep is so neglected, like by tradesmen. Get up super o'clock. I used to have a guy who used to get up 3-4 o'clock, do his paperwork, whatever he had to do, go to work, come home, and then he'd be drinking coffee from like 6 through till 11 at night, getting paperwork done. It's like, mate, like you're shooting yourself in the foot. Like, what are you doing? But again, until people then crumble and burn and hit burnout, they don't realise it sometimes does take that.
Yeah, and it's such a big thing, isn't it? Burnout. It really pisses me off when people are like, "Oh, it's not a real thing. Oh, it doesn't happen." And I'm like, you've probably never experienced it to a degree of where you're literally at the point of just being nothing because you've just exuberated everything you've got, and that's mad. Like up till 11, back up at 3, and then just them working days. But do you think grind culture comes into it a lot? You know, that sort of that masculinity mentality, almost. It's a bit toxic in it. Of like, you've got to work, you've got to provide, you've got to do this.
Yeah, there's so much out there troubling it on social media. Same when it comes to like training, nutrition plans. There's so much conflicting stuff out there that you see the guys, or you might say, "Oh, I'm grinding," and it's like in reality, are they doing it 7 days a week? Probably not. Like it's yeah, I think it is. Again, it comes back to the toxic traits of, I guess, being a tradesman, wanting to be that alpha, wanting to say, "Oh, I do this, I do that." Which in reality, like if you want to make progress, especially when it comes to fitness and fat loss, like if you want to see progress, I see so many guys stalling on their fitness journeys. Like, mate, like if you just slept a little bit more, like your body would start responding. You would feel less. You would have more energy. You would feel less hungry all the time. Like your body would actually start losing body fat. So stop grinding, like, you know what I mean? Stop drinking caffeine at 10 o'clock at night. Go get some sleep.
5 Red Bulls.
Yeah, literally, it's mad. It's absolutely mad.
So this one always puts people on the spot a little bit. So if there was one habit that you used to do or have never done and you'd like to introduce into your life, daily routine, whatever it is, what would it be and why?
One habit that I'd like to introduce.
Or you've done in the past and stopped doing? Either or.
One habit that I've done in the past and stopped doing in terms of good stuff or bad stuff?
Good, something that you think that like you've done it in the past and it benefited your everyday life, or there's one that you've seen and you're like, oh, I'd love to do that for sort of increase my value.
In terms of bad stuff, I was going to say sleep. Like, that's something that I used to neglect. In terms of good stuff, I think stress management, mobility, recovery is such an important thing as well. Like, I've learned it more. Like, the more I've trained and stuff like that as well, you do need to look after you. But like, less is sometimes more. So I think looking after your body in terms of resting, recovering, training, and stuff like that as well. Especially for these guys, you know what I mean? They're working hard, they're in the gym. It's making them realise that they don't have to be in the gym 7 days a week, like sometimes taking a step back. So, I mean, that doesn't really answer your question, does it? But I think in terms of things that I'd like to introduce more, so I mean, recovery, less, always go, and train that as well.
I think that's something that a lot of people miss, and it's interesting you mention it though about, is it a common thing that like putting the reins on your clients a little bit, because obviously they've got this coming from one culture of the trades, like you said, people are fucking having 20-hour days, sleeping for 3-4 hours, getting back up and doing it again. And then when you do that shift, that mindset, do they apply that mentality into the training and everything like that, and they go full blown into that? But you know, like you said, less is more sometimes.
Yeah, what I say to them as well is just because, you know what I mean, just because there's a Denzel Washington quote that I remember listening to on some motivational shit that he done, and it was like, just because you're doing a lot more don't mean you're getting a lot more done. And that's what I say to my clients, you know what I mean? Just because you're working more hours, are you actually doing more whilst you're there, or are you stood there, do you know what I mean, because you're shattered and you can't work and you'll keep resting and keep sitting down? Like, actually, if you actually do a little bit less, you can probably get more done within that time that you're actually working. Yeah, I think that's something that they need to. We still have lads on the program, especially coming up to this time of year. It's December the 3rd, like Christmas time. They're like, I've got to work. I'm so busy. But is doing more, do you know what I mean? Is that going to move you forwards? Is that actually going to get the job done quicker?
It's that 80-20 principle again, isn't it? Like you mentioned before, the nutrition, like Pareto's principle. It's like work smart, not hard. Like if you can work smarter, why like put yourself in the bin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, before we go, obviously, like, thank you for coming on and sort of giving an insight to that. So for someone like me who's sort of on the peripheral of this sort of world and only has mates in it and things like that, it's so refreshing to see someone trying to, you know, help change that. And I imagine it's so rewarding. But like, if you could just pick not pick anything particularly, what is the most rewarding part for you? Like, what is it that keeps you, you know, getting up each morning and applying yourself to this? What sounds like hard work, you know, to be in this environment. You just got to keep pushing through and banging your head against the wall, but helping people.
Can be frustrating. And as well, I probably work more now than what I did when I was on the tools as an electrician. But like you said earlier, it doesn't feel like work. But the most rewarding part, I think, is actually seeing that you can change somebody's life when people come to you and they're like, Joe, thank you so much. It's almost frustrating but rewarding when somebody says they're going to leave. Like, do you know what I mean? We want to work with people forever, but when people come to us and they're like, Joe, I feel like my journey's done. Like, thank you for everything. I've achieved everything I want to. I feel like I can continue by myself. And I'm like,
flying the nest. Yeah.
And in the back of my mind, I'm like, that means that I've done my job. I call my program Built for Life. I say to you, Jack, it's going to be the last program you ever have to do in 6 months' time, in 12 months' time, however long it takes you, you will be able to do it by yourself. So when people actually come to us and say that they feel like they can continue by themselves, it's rewarding, it's fulfilling, and we've actually done our job. Like I've got a client, he's actually finished today, and he's been with me over 12 months now. And he said, like, do you know what I mean? I feel a bit sad, I feel a bit emotional, but I feel like all the habits you've taught me, I can sustain it, I can maintain it. I'm not just going to go away, get fat, start eating crap again. Like, I can actually do it by myself. So thank you. And I think that's the most rewarding part, is that we're actually teaching people like skills that can serve them throughout the whole life. It's not an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Teach someone how to build a wall, they can build a wall for So it's
Exactly.
not an apprenticeship that we take people through, but a fitness one.
Yeah, it's class, man. Honestly, it's so good. Before we go, if you don't mind, when we end this, me and you have a little chat afterwards. But before we go, we end it for people listening. Tell people where they can find you, where they can find out more about you.
Yeah, of course. So we're mainly on Instagram. We do little bits on YouTube, LinkedIn, and stuff. But if you go on Instagram, it's Joe_the Tradesman's Coach. Keep your eyes peeled because in the new year as well, we are actually launching our own podcast. Undecided on the name yet. We've got 2 names we're rocking and rolling with, so we're just kind of finalising that. But obviously, if people want to learn more, we on the podcast we're hoping to bring on guests in and amongst the trade, business mentors, mental health people, like people who can help, again, give sort of knowledge and wealth to people in the trade. But yeah, we're mainly on Instagram, Joe_the Tradesman's Coach. If you go onto my page as well, there is a link to a website as well where people can see testimonials, results, and a video about sort of what we do in a little bit more detail as well.
Perfect, mate. I'll put all that down in the description for people to check out. And thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.